Good morning, Johnson. Could you give a short introduction about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm not even sure where I should begin, but I just turned 40 earlier this year. I started as a political influencer in 2015, 2016, when Trump was running for, his presidency at the time. It was the craziest time, I'll never forget those years. And I started up my Twitter account specifically both to follow Trump and tweet out his stuff, but also because I was trying to promote my own feature-length movie that I made that I spent like 4 years on, right? Underdogs. You can't find any more on the internet because I actually took it down. It's too. I decided it was just too divisive, and I was actually getting people like wanting to whack me and stuff. But aside from that, that's how I got my started. And then you know, around that time, I still remember it was November 16th, 2016. I actually asked God for a specific search term on the Bitcoin Talk forum, right? BitcoinTalk.org. And I think I typed in something like high interest APR proof of stake coin, something like that. And the number one result on Google was actually this this crap coin or Ponzi coin, I guess you could call it, right? Scam coin called 808 coin. And I actually, long story short, took that coin. I spent like $500 on it, and then from there to the end of the bull run in late 2017, early 2018, I turned $500 into $254,000 in that bull run. I thought I was a genius. I even called the top at the time because I was also doing my YouTube channel at the time. So I was telling everybody what I was doing, how to do it, et cetera, et cetera. So, because remember, I was an actor at that point, and then I stopped doing background work because, like, well, why should I do acting work making like $200 a day when I could just do crypto all day? Because that's what I wanted to do. So, so that was the glory days of 2017, glory days of Trump and all that. And then that's when things started slowly going down. And then we talked before we started this interview. That's the point where I actually heard of. Can we mention his name?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, because I know this is going on YouTube, so I don't want
All good.
to get those guys banned. But yeah, that's when I actually saw Mike Cernovich, who I met in real life. Super cool guy. We were, I guess we're still friends today. We just don't talk much because we just keep to ourselves these days. He actually partnered with Andrew Tate at the time because I think Andrew must have contacted him. Right, this was when Mike was like super big. Right, he was, everyone knew who he was in the right wing space. And it turns out that they were actually going to found the War Room, right? Spend $2,500, go to Transylvania, I think that was the location. And then I just remember the marketing email. Mike just said, if you're not willing to do that, then just F off. So I realize now, I think that's kind of like how Andrew Tate operates, which makes sense. And yeah, they founded the War Room. I had, well, honestly, I just came off of 254 grand, so I was like doing my own crypto projects, right, which didn't work out, of course, because I didn't know any better. And I could have easily have gone, right. It's like, and stupidly, I did not go. I still think about it to this day, and I realize, yeah, that was like, I know I have a lot of big mistakes in my life, but that would definitely be recently the most stupid mistake I've ever done is not joining the war room when I had the chance. Everything would have been different. Actually, you and I wouldn't be sitting in this in this angle to this day. It would be completely different. But but yeah, that's basically what happened. So years go by, my money dwindles and dwindles and dwindles, and Professor Michael even talked even just yesterday in his AMA about he went through the same exact thing. It's like I know exactly what he's talking about because I did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm playing catch up, and I almost did the same thing. I was almost able to take this time $2,000 in the 2021-2022 bull bear peak. I actually could have made, let's see, after the tax on the coin, it was like $200,000. So 2 grand to 200,000, and I missed it. I missed it. I'm so pissed that that happened. And on top of that, I also got my family member, my sister. She was also invested in the coin. She only put in like 1,500 bucks, but it was worth 40 grand at the time, and we did not sell. Right? We did not sell. So she wound up losing like half her capital. And I only made like 20, 30 grand, which is still pretty good returns, but that's supposed to be 10 times higher. And then, I saw the Aiden Ross, Andrew Tate stream last summer. It's actually hard to believe it's been 1 year, basically. And then, of course, I went through all his content. I joined the real world like 2 days after that because I was like, huh, wonder what Andrew's been up to. It's been years since I've actually seen or heard of him. And I was like, holy crap, he's like completely different now. So all of that. And then now I'm like, okay, I need to make sure this doesn't happen again, right? Because I'm running out of money. I basically lost 200 grand again. Well, not again, but wait. Actually, yes, that would be again because from 2017 to the next bull run, the money dwindled, so that would count. Then I lost 200, another 200 grand, right? 250K, not selling at the top when I should have. And then when I went back, because back then we were on Discord, right? The real world was in the Discord. I actually went back and saw, yeah, they called the top perfectly. In fact, you could have shorted it. I was like, that could have been me. That could have been me. I could have sold the top. And I could have shorted it too a little bit. Like, what was I doing with my life? Right? And that's really the whole point of the real world is I'm a completely different man now than I was 6 months ago. And I'm definitely completely different from a year ago. And now I'm just, you know, trying to learn trading. I'm trying to, I've already cut out most of the bad stuff because like all I do all day is I look at the charts, I check the real world, I update everybody in both the stocks and crypto campuses if applicable, right? Which is basically every day, except on weekends because there's not a lot of activity, right? I post my charts, my analysis, we'll talk about this later, but I developed my own trading system called TDCR. Right, it's a very I actually think it's the best trading system in the world, but it just requires more time and experience for me to keep improving on it. Right, and I actually made an improvement yesterday by combining Professor Ayush's box system with my system. So now I'm testing that out. I'm doing back tests and forward tests, and now I just lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? but yeah, oh right. So I do all that. I spend most of my time in the real world. I work out 6 times a week. Today is Sunday, so it's my physical day off. But I'll probably like walk around or something. I'll do something to keep my physical shape. I've cut out like 99% of my video games. I don't consume social media anymore except to just do work, and that's all I do. I work out. I work, help out, the family. All right. And then when I have spare time, I think about, okay, how did I screw up my life? Where did I screw up? Why did I screw it up? How can I prevent this? And how can I improve? What are my solutions? And that's all I did. Right. I was trying my best to try to live a fraction or a big part of how Andrew Tate lives his life. So I could be like, okay, so I know that he's really successful. So I know I could be very successful, but there's things that I'm doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? And that's all I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in those 6 months to 1 year where you're saying you're a completely different person, what things have you learned that stand out that maybe you can relate to the reward?
Okay. Well, still a lot. So I guess one thing I would think of is the concept of worrying and being afraid. Like I actually have a huge problem with that, and I think a lot of other people do. But I find that the thing that what you think is really bad, and then your mind just goes crazy and thinks, oh, what if this bad thing happens? What if that bad thing happens? And then when you actually go through the actual problem, it's usually not that bad. It's actually a lot less worse than what you think it is, right? So the thought of whatever you're afraid of is always generally going to be worse than the actuality of having to go through it, right? Like, for example, speaking to my mom and dad, always had a bad relationship. But then I thought, okay, using what I learned in the real world, right, analyze what went wrong, why did it go wrong? I was like, okay, my mom and dad just don't know what I'm doing. That's why they think I'm just wasting my life playing video games. So why don't I just tell them what I'm doing? And then of course, I walked up to him like, I'm getting afraid. I'm like, okay. Then I explain it to them. I explain what I want to do, what I am doing, what I have done, etc., etc. And they were actually super cool about it. Surprisingly, they were very supportive. I was like, huh, all right. And then, and then that's an example of I was very afraid of something that just wasn't it. Right. This is actually a thing in religion too. All right. Just basically don't worry about things. So that was one thing. The second thing was for me personally, especially because in trading, I find that, my fear and my greed really can cause problem. It is the primary reason for making money and losing money. Like I have to learn self-control, right? I have to learn, and I have to learn to believe in myself, as Professor Michael says, to just take things one thing at a time, right? Don't get greedy, just keep learning, right? And then as you keep building your skills, right, you'll get more confidence in yourself, and then you compound your earnings, right? When you just go all in on like one trade, like that, like yeah, you can make a lot of money, but then you can also lose everything, and then you're back to square one. And when I look at my past life, these past 20 years, that's exactly how I lived my life. All in one shot, and then it's really not that much different from gambling because I'm not building like a consistent base over time.
Sustainable.
Yeah. Because, rather than gamble 1,000, 2,000 bucks, what if I just took the time and say the 2000s, it was after the dot-com crash, right? The early 2000s. I was a college student back then in my 20s. Can't believe I'm that old now. And I thought, okay, what I could have done, if I could have done it differently, was just simply put my money in like, big. Well, first of all, just get a stock brokerage account because the internet was just coming into some kind of maturity. Like the best internet at the time here in New York City was like DSL from Verizon. Right? This was before files and fiber optics, right? I could have made a brokerage account. I could have just put my money into like, banks or just some Microsoft or something blue chip, right? A safe stock. Just build my capital, right? Not be a lazy schmuck and then, play video games all day, but maybe go get a job, all right? Use that for cash flow while at the same time trying to learn investing. And then when the opportunity comes, right? Because this was the 2000s, could have made money on the way up with the real estate bubble. And I remember I remember this distinct moment. I think it was in 2008. I was in Baruch College at the time. All right. I was hitting on like a lot of the girls in the classroom. Right. I remember there was a Friday right before Bear Stearns went bankrupt the following Monday. I could have bought puts for like pennies on the dollar on Stearns and shorted it. All right. At the time, I could have turned like 200 bucks into like 40 grand, which would have been huge money for me as a college kid. And I couldn't do that because I didn't have a brokerage account. Because I was so lazy at the time, I did not even do the bare minimum basic foundational steps so that when the opportunities did present themselves, I couldn't take advantage of it. So what wound up happening was Bear Stearns went to like $2 or $0 eventually. I didn't have a brokerage account. I tried to start up an account at E-Trade, and I could not get it funded until 6 to 8 months later. So they just took my 600 bucks, and I couldn't do anything about it. And I would send emails, and just wouldn't respond. It was such a frustrating experience. And again, I think about that moment. I think, why did that happen? How did I let that happen? And of course, now I know it's because I'm too busy playing stupid World of Warcraft and other video games. So it's like, and it's just mistakes like that I really have to be on the lookout for. And that might be the third thing too that I learned. You have to be really analytical about all the things that you do, big and especially the small things, because those small things probably are a lot bigger than you think they are. Right? Right? Seems pretty harmless. Play video games. Oh, well, what happens? Oh, you can't make money now. It's like that's what happens, right? At least to me. So, and that's what's happening to a lot of other people. I even see some of my, you know, nephews, right? My other family members. I seen them doing the same thing I did, and when because they're in their 20s too, and they're like playing video games all day. So it's like, oh no, it's like, well, what can I do? What can Uncle Junson do to? Because my parents said don't yell at him. I know my siblings don't yell at him either, but they also don't want them playing too many video games. So there's got to be something I got to do. So the only thing I could think of is, well, what if I got super rich, get myself like I don't know if I'm going to have multiple hot girlfriends. I still prefer just having one. Get a hot girlfriend, wife, whatever, and then make millions. And then I'll go back and says, hey guys, I gave up video games and this is the life I live. So maybe you should stop playing video games. And then they'll actually look at me and go, yeah, maybe I should listen to Uncle Johnson for once.
All right. Because, yeah, I mean, actions speak louder than words, as everyone says. So
Yeah.
you're implementing what you preach, and then reaching it will be the best way to show them that they can do so as well. Right.
Yeah.
And how has everything changed then since you've implemented a more sustainable trading strategy?
Right. So as I said before, I joined the real world last July in July 2022 when I saw the Tate Ian and Ross stream. I think it was their first one that year, perhaps. But I joined. I started trading immediately, both in the stocks and crypto campuses. I initially did really well in July of last year, all right, because the markets went up. But because I was risking too much money and I wasn't, I was being too greedy still, right? I made a lot, I made thousands, but then I also lost it all. And then it culminates in November to December of last year, where I actually get liquidated for 90% of my net worth and then pretty much lose most of, my remaining money. Precisely because I did not listen to the professors. It's like, don't use too much leverage, don't risk too much and set a stop loss. Naturally, I didn't do any of those, so is it any surprise? So starting January 1st of this year, I was like, okay, I just got my ass handed to me. So maybe I should, stop, going crazy and then actually listen and be disciplined for once in my life. So start using stop losses, start risking a lot less. I started analyzing, okay, if I take this trade, what is the actual potential loss and how likely is it to occur? I didn't even think of that last year, right? Even though the professors did talk about it, which is another thing, you should listen to the professors. They're multimillionaires, self-made for a reason. And more importantly, they're able to keep those millions. Because it doesn't matter if you make $10 million if you just lose it the next day. Like, well, then what are you doing, Not to mention the emotional trauma that's going to cause. So essentially, I figured out, my own way of not only just eliminating losses, but try to keep it to around 1-2% of my trades. So, or if I know that I'm going to be taking a day trade, right? A one day option expiry. Basically, it's an stock option that expires the next day in case of stocks. Then I size the cash risk as small as possible. I did $60 max, and then now it's just $30 in just one contract. And I just keep doing that. So that could lose 20-30%. I'm not going to care. That's like $10. But it has the potential to make 50 to 100% because I know I posted some wins like that. So I basically double my money. So yes, the risk reward I have to be very, very conscious of. And then it's not just that, but also how much cash in totality am I risking on that specific trade. For example, I actually started using Professor Ayush's box system with my own system, TDCR, which is basically primarily reliant on certain macro indicators plus RSI divergences. And I combined it so that is this a real box? Well, actually, I don't want. Well, I mean, most people, if people want to really know what I'm talking about, they join the real world and then they get all the alpha. Because believe it or not, people use my analysis, and one guy actually made $1,100 in like 15 minutes on his trading account. So that actually made me feel pretty good. So I'm like, okay, so someone else finds what I'm doing useful. So that makes me feel better because, like, okay, maybe I'm not so useless. And I whatchamacallit. Oh yes. So I took a trade on AVAX based on that. And then I also include my stop loss. I'm even trying something now called pyramiding where where you add another order, but then basically what I did was I used the profits from the previous in profit position to finance the next position, the next trade that I just took. So this is just completely different from what I did before, where it's just like all in, all right, all in, go home, go big or go home, like they say in Texas. And in my case, go home a lot more often than going big, because I know I can hit it big. I've done it technically twice in my life in these bull runs, because I know this coming bull run will be unlike anything we've ever seen. Professors know it and say that. I know it from because I've been in crypto since basically 2010. I've seen it. I've seen just about everything. All right, and I know that this is going to be bigger than even what 2021 was. Right? If I play my cards right, I'm actually very certain that I can make at least $1 million, if not a few million. So, better get to work. It's like I'm even thinking maybe take another second job, doing this and all that. Just whatever I can get. If there's $10 to be made, I better be there to make it and pick it up. So, so yes, so and then that's basically you know what I'm now implementing, because if I take care of the risk, then the profits will take care of themselves. So that's what I'm currently focused on right now, because that's where I am in my trading journey. All right, focus on risk, focus on my own emotional problems and flaws, so on and so forth.
Okay. And has the community within the real world had any kind of impact on you? You've said you've helped someone else uh, get to over 1,000 from one trade. So yeah, do you interact much with the community? And again, have they had an impact on you?
Yeah, I actually interact with them pretty much all the time, especially during trading hours. Because as a captain, I have a leadership role within the real world, so everyone looks to me as an example to, be inspired and then also not screw things up. So I interact with them constantly. I give them my analysis. I'll answer questions. We bounce ideas around each other, right? In fact, sometimes they'll find things that I don't find, and I use that for my own analysis and trades. Like, wow, this is actually really good. So definitely a huge impact. In fact, I couldn't. It was impossible to create the trading system that I have without the community, because I had to put together a bunch of components together. Obviously, at the time, I didn't know anything about trading. In fact, I thought technical analysis, just doing, was a complete scam, right? Obviously, after I joined the real world, I I consciously kept an open mind. I was like, okay, they're obviously making money off of technical analysis. So they obviously know, the professors and the people there and the captains at the time know something I do not. So basically, I wouldn't have done any of this without the community. Like, what Tate says is true. Your network really is your net worth.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm running with, winners and fighters and warriors. And now my life is slowly but surely reflecting that. I should also add the extra word rich. So I know I'm in a very interesting point in my life because I know what I can do. I've had multiple tastes of what it's like to actually be on top of the world, and I keep screwing it up. Right. And I'm like, I'm getting older, I'm not getting younger, and pretty soon, everyone's gonna be relying on me to, do everything. So it's like I gotta get my act together. So it's I oh yeah, I know I intend to do this because there's just so much I like want to say, but I keep going off tangents. But yes, I interact with the real world In fact, I actually just did it a couple hours ago, even though everyone's still asleep in this time zone.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I consider this basically my extended family in a lot of ways. So, I'm just in there all the time.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, I mean, you say everyone's sleeping on your part of the world, but in Europe, it's afternoon. Even further out, it's evening for people. So yeah, there's always people online to speak to.
Oh yeah.
And okay, so since you're on this trajectory, where do you see your life heading in the short term, medium term, long term?
Well, let's see. Well, short term, if we're talking the remaining months of this year, it's pretty much going to be more working out, more analyzing the charts, more improving things. Also, checking up on my mom and dad a lot more because they're actually in a lot of trouble. So they really need, help, right? And I've already noticed that their stress levels have gone way down ever since I came back and have been more actively involved in life. I mean, I don't want to get too personal, but they're dealing with a lot of legal problems with, one of their tenants. So now I'm helping them out with that. So it's you know, they're they're a lot less worried, and they're also screaming a lot less. So that's a very good sign for me, right? So I'm like, so this is working. So and that'll be good. In terms of money, I'm pretty sure I'll make at least 10, 20, maybe even 30 grand. But I'm deliberately not sizing too much because that's my problem. I size too much, I make too much profit, and then I give it all back. So now I'm just doing what Professor Michael says, just because I know I can make hundreds of thousands, but I can't shortcut that process. There's a natural methodical method that I should follow, that everyone else follows, every professional follows, that will just set me up for success for the rest of my life. So I just have to learn to be patient and just be calm and just be like, okay, these percentages work, these mistakes occur, okay, fix this, fix that. And then once I have a very consistent, profitable system, because I'm very close to having an extremely consistent and very profitable system, then it's just a matter of just putting more money in and then just sizing up and scaling. And
Hmm.
then just be a huge money printer. So that's the short term. The medium term is definitely what I mentioned before, the coming bull run. We think it might be end of 2024, 2025. We don't quite know well, actually, we do know what the narratives are. Say it in public. Because you want to know, if you're a viewer, join us in the real world, and I'll even tell you what it is. And then my professor, Michael, and I usually will tell you what it is and how we're planning to attack it. Right? Unlike what before, when I was just on my own, this time we actually have a whole, plan to, take advantage of the tens of millions of dollars minimum that are going to be flooding into the real world. So we're going to make sure we get a slice of that. So that's the medium term. That's what I'm going to be really focusing on, is getting all the money I can to get ready, buy all the cryptos, right? Perhaps the certain stocks that will all take advantage of the bull run that comes. And then after that, if I succeed, I should succeed. I make my millions. And after that, I guess I could say I would join the War Room because I know once I join, that's like Fight Club. We don't talk about it because I want to correct that mistake because that actually sometimes keeps me up late at night because like all these bad things are happening because of that one stupid mistake. Right? I still don't actually know why I didn't join. Even to this day, I'm still trying to figure that out. You know, but I want to correct that mistake. I want to rewrite that part of my history. Then after that, the sky will be the limit long term. I still want to create like an entertainment company. I never gave up my passion for acting, making movies. I technically have one movie under my belt, and if I and this is something that I do want to learn, but there's only one place where I can learn how to deal with this finally, which is dealing with my fear. Right? I actually have a lot of fear in my life, even though it may not seem that way right now. I still have things about me that I'm just like, I don't even know why I get terrified. It's kind of annoying, actually. It's like there has to be a way I can get rid of it, and if I could just get
Yes,
rid of
no
it,
action solves everything. So actually, just taking action solves the fear. Like maybe you wanted something else, you're looking for something else, but that's pretty much the answer. Just raw action solves that fear.
Yeah. Well, then a good network so that if I do kind of cower in fear, in private, I can just talk to people. It's like, yeah, why are you? They ask me, why are you afraid? Like,
But that's
yeah,
still externalizing that problem. I think maybe you're thinking once you reach that stage, then things won't be that way. But that's not a sustainable mindset to have because it's everything still happens internally. Like you need to figure everything out internally first. If you keep putting out to external, then it's just going to keep happening throughout your life where things are just going to keep being external. Even if you reach that point where you think maybe once I reach that, then things will be different. I mean, it would just keep happening. Like maybe you reach that, and then it will be another reason for why things aren't going the right way. This is me rambling a bit, but still, you need to figure it out internally first, and you do that by taking action. So,
okay. Hmm. Yeah, 'cause I also even tried Googling how to deal with fear. Maybe it's like maybe I'll try that again just to get some ideas. But you're right. I mean, it is something I'm trying to figure out internally. But it's actually surprisingly pretty difficult. What's crazy is I just don't know why. Everything is like when I look at the big picture of things, everything is fine. Like I can walk. I have my arms. Everyone I care about is still alive. I'm all right on money and living arrangements. I have food to eat. I don't know. It's just weird, but I know I'll eventually figure it out because I know I'm on the right path because I am coming off of as Tate says, I'm coming out of the matrix, and it's just a completely different world before the real world and then after. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, I guess it really is like the movie, right? Neo gets pulled out. He's like, everyone get away from me. Freaks out. But I'm well beyond the freak out part. And now it's just the training phase of the movie, right? Where I'm learning how to fight, right? How to deal with the agents and all that. And reprogramming my brain for success. Because I've seen it. I want it back. I'm going to get it back. It's just a matter of when and is it sustainable? And that's what I'm going to be working on.
Okay. So that's most of my questions for you. If to end off, for people who are still unsure about joining the real world, maybe they think it could be a scam for the $50. What advice would you have to them?
Well, obviously, I could say it's not a scam. Of course, I would say that. But I would say just look at your own life right now. If you keep doing what you're doing, is it really going to get any better? Right? Take it from me. All right. I'm 40, right? I thought, oh, okay, that's a scam. That's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. Like, are you really going to want to waste 10, even 20 years of your life just doing what you think is best? And then finding out that it's not? Because chances are it's not going to work, right? Let's just be honest, right? There's a reason why most people aren't successful. Because most of your ideas and the execution just isn't what you think it's going to be, right? It's a lot easier to just simply join a network of actual winners who cut out all the crap, all the distractions, and they'll just simply tell you what to do, right? Like everything is essentially almost spoon fed for you, right? It's like if this had existed, even just 5 years ago, like everything would have been different, right? I mean, the second biggest expense in your life is actually losses and whatever you lose your money on. But the number one expense in your life is the money you never make, right? The $50 now that you spend, just think about how much near infinite value you can eventually get, right? I mean, if everyone watching this right now, you know that the crypto bull run's coming. You know it's going to be just like 2017, 2021, and for the really OG crypto people, you were around in 2011 and 2013. You remember those days. Wouldn't it just be a lot easier just to spend the $50, even if you were a lazy person, and just simply hang around the crypto campuses and go, oh, okay, they think the bull run all is here. Here's the peak. You know, that alone is just going to return you like hundreds of thousands, not even tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands, because we all know there are plenty of coins that will always 100x, 200x, even 1,000x, right? Just look at what Pepe did, right? Stupid meme coin, right? That's made like what thousands of x's. I don't even know how much, but it's just some crazy astronomical number, right? All the profit that you could have made off of that, and you lose it because you didn't spend $50. Right? It's the same thing what happened with me in 2021. Put $2,000 into what was actually called Sphere Finance coin, and I did not sell at for a net profit of 250 grand, and then there was a 20% tax. So I would have gotten $200,000 net profit. Yeah, I would have paid $50 instantly to be told, hey, this is the top, you should sell. Oh, dump. $50 turns into 200 grand. So that was my return on investment if I was thinking it was a scam. Back then I didn't even know HUTRW existed back then. But if I thought it was a scam, that's how I would have looked at it and go, okay, $50 is worth it, especially at the time because I had money. So it's like $50 is nothing to me. So all I have to say is don't be cheap, don't be afraid, don't be worried. And if you play video games, just think of it this way. Would you rather buy Elden Ring or Final Fantasy 16 or 1 month subscription to the real world? I mean, you can't be that dumb. You can't be that dumb. Just join the real world, start changing your life, start making the money, and then start realizing, oh, I'm doing all these bad things in my life. It's just like cigarette smoking. It's going to kill me later, right? So don't do that. Just take my word for it. Just join the real world, and then just make all the money in the world that you can ever possibly hope to make, and then just go live your dreams. Oh, and let us know inside, the testimonials too, because it's good to inspire each other on, because it really is just us against the matrix. There's no one else left to help us.
Okay, thank you, Johnson. And for people who want to find out more about you or contact you, when can they do so?
I still run my Twitter account. That's pretty much my only real social media, which is twitter.com/real Junson Chan, just RealJunsonChan. I mean, obviously, I'll just give you a link to it in Telegram, but yeah, that's where people can find me. I try to just now tweet, helpful, useful, life improving advice, right? Instead of political stuff I used to do. But one day, I'm sure, when I get all the things that I want put together, it'll still be that, and then plus more, because who knows? I still want to make that entertainment company, and I want to be a force to be reckoned with one more time. So, for old time's sake, because 2015, 2016, those were the days, man. When Trump was running for election. We really hit the Democrats and Hillary Clinton very hard at the time. So, I mean, I actually, it's not even about left or right versus right for me anymore. It's just, I just want to just be in battle once more, just conquer. So I want to do it in the entertainment world this time.
Interesting. Okay, so Johnson, thank you for your insights. And can end it there. So I wish you all the best, and we'll see if we do a follow-up in future as well.
Sure. Yeah, and thanks for having me.